Hi, I'm Bob Trask. This is our weekly reset. Today I'm going to talk about life as an adventure, your wildest adventure ever, 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 ever. When we were kids, we everything was an adventure. We had an event. It was an adventure just learning to tie my shoes. That was a big adventure. I remember I was living in Sandpoint, Idaho. I had a chicken that I called Blackie. It wasn't my chicken, it was the family chicken, but I was 5 years old. And I remember one night, we sat down to dinner and I was told we were eating Blackie. That memory stays with me all these years. But there was other adventures. There was bears around us at that time, and snow and all kinds of different things. And life was an adventure. Every day was an adventure. Every day was something new. Every day was exciting. And now we're older, and life isn't so exciting anymore. And life isn't quite as fresh. Tying our shoes is something we do without even thinking. And we put our clothes on without thinking and brush our teeth without thinking. And perhaps we eat without thinking, or we're thinking of something else, or our minds are way off somewhere else. And what I want to talk about today is that we could change that focus, change that viewpoint just slightly, not a big deal. And it would make a huge difference in our lives, because then we could be living the adventure we always wanted to, rather than just going to the movies or reading books and experiencing adventure through someone else. Christopher McCandless says the very basic core of man's living spirit is his passion for adventure. And I know we have that passion. I know we do, otherwise we wouldn't be watching adventurous movies and adventurous TV things. I know we love adventure, but life is our adventure. And of all the people that have ever lived on this planet, there's never been another you, and there never will be another you. And every single day that goes by is an opportunity for adventure. And that's that passion that Christopher McCandless talks about. It's the basic core of man's living spirit, the passion for adventure. So I agree with Chris. We love adventure. It's who we are. But we're not put on here on this earth to sit on our butts and watch others having their adventures or their lives in television or wherever. We were meant to be always on the edge of our own lives, expanding our comfort zones. So here's my question. If the opportunity came today for a great adventure, would you take it? Or would you say, oh, golly, I'd really like to, but I'm really too busy right now. And that might be true. It might be true that you're too busy because, we've got kids and grandkids and bills to pay and pets and plants and jobs. And we just can't abandon all those and say, well, I'm going now. Can we? Or can we? But if not now, when? When will you not have a bunch of other obligations to tend to? And isn't it true that those obligations, the have tos, I've got to do this today and I've got to do that today. Isn't it true that those have tos take up your life? When you get up in the morning, you have a list, either in your mind or on paper, and you go through that list of things you've got to get done today. And at the end of the day, you look at your list in your mind or on paper and you say, well, I almost got it done, or wow, that's great, I got it done. But what about your life? What about your life? I mean, we have robots that can do all that stuff. How about you? How about your imagination? When will you not have a bunch of other obligations and stuff that you have to do? Is there going to be a time when you won't have grandkids or kids or bills or pets or gardens? Is there ever going to be a time when you won't be saddled by a job that you wish wasn't holding you back from your life's great expectations and expressions? Because here's the thing. If you're not experiencing an adventurous life, you're not giving as much as you could to any of those other areas anyway. And isn't that true? Isn't it true that when we're around someone who's got adventure in their lives, they compel us, they they pull us in. Like their stories are just fascinating. So we have to ask ourselves, is this living? Is this really living? Am I fully alive in my life? Do I want to be? Do I want to feel the thrill of something new happening to me each day? Or do I want to just go through the same routine? Because we can have something new each day, because each day is new. This day that we're living right now, we've never lived this day before. We've never lived this moment before, this instant before. And yet our subconscious mind tells us it's just the same. Let's just do it again. It's the same thing we've done. We'll just do it again. But it's not the same. It's different. It's different. It's always different. Oscar Wilde said to live is the rarest thing in the world. He said, most people exist, and that's all. So when's the last time we had a really life-renewing experience? And I say life-renewing because that's what adventure is. That's what it does to us. It makes us new again. It starts the game over, and it deals us cards from a brand new deck. One of the adventures people seek is to travel, right? But for most people, that's not an adventure. They decide to go to a foreign country, one whose name has always been fascinating to them. And so they book flights, hotels, and tours very carefully. And why not? They're willing to leave home, but they don't want to leave the comforts and securities they're used to. Is this adventure? They take a tour while they're in that country, and they ride in a bus with a lot of other people, and they take a lot of pictures to show their friends when they get back home. They might even visit 2 countries or maybe even 3 countries on this trip. But they'll all be the same, carefully guaranteed, organized to be safe and secure. So there's a difference between looking at the cultures that we're in and diving into the cultures that we're within. If I go to China and I'm in a remote part of China, am I on a tour? Am I being very carefully guided to look at things, and have the Chinese, knowing that these people come through on a regular basis, set things up so that I will see what they want me to see? I might as well be watching it on television. In fact, on television, it might even be more intricate, more carefully designed so that I can see more. What if I'm going through that and I'm not feeling the adventure, and I'm not in the adventure? I'm not eating different foods and smelling different smells and feeling the culture? Then why in the hell am I there? And cruises? Well, I mean, I don't want to say anything against going on cruises, because I think people do that all the time and they have a wonderful, wonderful time. And God bless them. That's perfect. But look at this for a minute. The cruises are so secure. You have more food than you'd ever dreamed possible. You have entertainment, the people singing or dancing or an orchestra playing, and when there's gambling, and you have a nice room with a comfortable bed, and you're floating along on the ocean, high above the ocean. Well, you're not on. I mean, I'm a I'm a seaman. I'm an ex-sea captain. I've been on a cruise, and I'll tell you, you're way up there above the ocean. You're not seeing the ocean. You're not feeling the ocean. And 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 so everything that you do is from the comfort and security of a new kind of a home that's guaranteed to be safe. And foreign travel always can be risky. That's true. We could get assaulted or robbed or maybe even jailed. And if we're injured or ill, we might not have the medical treatment available for you at home. We do need to plan for those contingencies, don't we? But we don't need to take the fun and adventure out of our trips. For a lot of years, I was a free diver. You know, a free diver is somebody that swims down into the ocean without a tank, without air, just breath holding. And sometimes I dived where there were a lot of big sharks. So I had to be extra careful. I had to pay attention. But I was in their ocean. And though that might on rare occasions be dangerous, I dived for more than 20 years, often several times a day, without those adventures in my life ever being dangerous or me ever being hurt. And without those adventures, my life would not today be what it is. I wouldn't even be speaking you here today if I hadn't had all those adventures. I did scores of other things. I was an ambulance attendant. I bandaged up people and did CPR and and helped put people back together. And I was a wilderness guide, and I was a sea captain, and I was driven by a curiosity, always a curiosity. And maybe that's what I'm saying today, is that we have to reawaken our curiosity, not just look at a thing, but look into a thing, feel a thing, let a thing become us for a moment at least. So I'm not saying we should go swim with sharks or sleep with bears. I'm inviting you to come and join those of us who are living on the edge, because that's where you belong. Not on our edge, not on the edge of somebody on television, on your edge, because that's when you're going to be fully alive and seeing reality, not through a darkened lens, but gloriously new every day. I remember Grandma, my dear grandmother, my maternal grandmother, talking about coming across the plains on a covered wagon. She came across the plains on a covered wagon. Imagine that girl riding on a bouncing, jolting wagon with an eye out for danger and a head full of dreams. And now her grandson, me, might go to the moon if I decide. I listened to her tales of living on a dirt floor in a dugout hill in Oklahoma. And she and her sister gathered buffalo chips to burn to cook food. All those pilgrims on covered wagons or walking across continents or sailing across endless seas, they were fully alive. And they created for us this world of marvels and comforts and safety. And if it weren't for those pioneers, those brave adventurers, we wouldn't be living these lives today. We wouldn't have the technology or computers or heated air conditioner homes or luxury cars. We're standing on the shoulders of those who dared to reach for more. And we must not let that pioneer fire go out in us. Helen Keller, you remember Helen Keller? She was deaf and she was blind, and she became a spokesman and an influencer for societies for forever. Helen Keller said, security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or it's nothing. So what we're looking at here is not creating a new you or a new me. What we're looking at is waking up to the real us and pumping ourselves back full of life. My dear friend Dick Prenicky, he was dying inside, and he knew he had to quit his job. And so he quit his job and went to the wilderness of Alaska, the wild wilderness, where there was nothing, no one. And he wanted to build a cabin there and live on his own. And he built this beautiful home, this one room cabin, really. And he used only hand tools and his imagination. And he filmed himself as he was doing that. And he wrote a diary as he was doing that. In his book, One Man's Wilderness, and the videos that are now playing on television for millions and millions of people, from a man alone in the wilderness, touching millions of people. I visited Dick at his cabin, and I learned so much from him. I heard him tell the joy of just being alive every day. And the reason he became so famous is that millions of people wanted to be like him, but they didn't dare follow their own callings. They didn't want to face their own dragons. But we got to face our dragons. J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote Lord of the Rings, said it simply isn't an adventure worth telling if there aren't any dragons. So we don't have to quit our jobs and go into the wilderness to be fully alive. We can take scuba diving lessons. We can spend time under the sea. We can join a hiking club. We can write that book that's been calling out to us. We can express ourselves through art, through painting, through sculpting. We can do that today. Today. Mountain climber William Murray said, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Boy, that's powerful. And Jackson Brown, H. Jackson Brown, an author, not the singer, the author, said 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than the things you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. And Mother Teresa said, life is an adventure. Dare it. And Alan Alda, the actor, has a message for us. He said, if you leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition, what you'll discover will be wonderful. What you'll discover is yourself. So finally, here's a word from Eleanor Roosevelt, who was a real American first lady. She was a first lady. That was, boy, she really made a difference in the world. Thank you, Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, do not stop thinking of life as an adventure. You have no security unless you can live bravely, excitingly, imaginatively, unless you can experience a challenge instead of competence. So we human beings are thinkers, aren't we? We spend our time thinking, and we get into a routine, and it's good. I mean, it's good to be in a routine because we don't want to have to refigure out how to tie our shoes every day. We don't have to refigure out how to boil water. We want to be able, once we get that handle, we want to be able to do it automatically. But after a while, life becomes automatic. It's been proven that 95% of the thoughts that we thought yesterday are the same things we're going to think today and the same things we're going to think tomorrow. 95%. Where's that other 5%? Let's make that 5% expand. Let's at least get 45% of our lives cooking, brand new. And for those of us that are older, we have an opportunity that we didn't have when we were younger. We have wisdom. We know now where to find adventure. So let's do it. Let's reach out. Let's go make life adventurous. Every day, when you look at something, see it anew. If you have your hand under the faucet and you're pouring water in your hand because you're going to wash something, look at the water flowing over your hand. Look at the crystalline of the water flowing over your hand. Look at the color of your flesh underneath that. Look at that beauty. If somebody were to paint that picture, you would buy it. It's that exciting, but it's real and it's happening right now. And you look at the sky and there's a bird swimming, not flying, he's swimming across that beautiful sea. And the clouds are always different. Every cloud you see you see for the first time. That there'll never be another cloud like that, ever, 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 ever. And you yourself, every moment are brand new. Today, you're brand new. In this minute, in this instant, you're brand new. This instant has never been before and never will be again. Let's open ourselves to it. Let's become fully aware. When somebody cooks a beautiful meal and we take a bite of it and we say, boy, that's good. Then we take another bite and say, that is good. And then we eat the rest of the meal while we're talking and we never taste it again. Why don't we taste it? The Buddhists tell us that we should chew our food 50 times, 50 times. Oh my gosh, I can tell you, having done that, the food becomes nothing but mush after a while. But what happens is that your taste buds come fully alive and life becomes fully aware of you and you in life. So that you there are the observer of what's going on, but you're also observing. You're the observing, and you're also the observed. And you pull all of those three together, and life becomes fully an adventure. You're not only riding the wild horse, you are the wild horse. You're not only feeling the wind on your face, you are the wind. You're in the river, and you are the river. And that's life. And we have an opportunity for a while before we leave this planet. We have an opportunity to really smell, taste, touch, and be one with this life, with this world. So let's wake up. Let's get a big smile on our face. And let's really taste the chocolate. Let's not just eat it. Let's just be who we came here to be. If we want to change our lives, then let's make sure that today and tomorrow and the next day aren't mirrors of yesterday. Let's take a risk. Let's take a risk and make this week one for the books. So as you go through this week, let's just remind ourselves again and again and again, wake up, wake up. This is brand new. This is brand new. I've never felt this before, never tasted this before, never touched this before, never seen this before, never heard this before. Listen, listen, go online and listen to Sibelius swan music. Just type it into Google, go on Sibelius swan music and turn it up loud as you can get it. And just sit and drink your tea or wine or whatever and just fall into that music. Thank you. Thanks for being with me. You're my adventure. And I love it and I love you. So go forward today and be who you came here to be. Go forward today and be the adventure. And know that wherever you go, whatever you do, there you are. There you are. Be there. And stop by bobtrask.com if you will. And leave a comment and leave a donation and together we'll go forward and make this life bigger than it's ever been before. Gosh, I'm so happy you're with me today. Thank you. Go have a good week.